Twitter so I can retweet that.
Yeah,
but
we're officially live.
All right, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Pick and Troll. Give me 1 second here, just tweeting out the link so that way people are able to follow along with us. Then we'll go ahead and get started.
So you really did like that Danny DeVito troll?
Oh, that was so funny. Yeah, that is so funny. All right, everyone. So welcome in episode 3 of Pick and Troll. I'm Jordan here with Rex, looking at the slate today for college basketball. This is our third episode. We actually will be going live again tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for what's hopefully going to be a better slate. Obviously, with Zags and Baylor getting canceled this morning, we're looking at a little bit of a deeper slate here, so not as many top-tier teams. Tomorrow, we do have some top-tier teams. I believe Villanova plays someone. Who do they play? Oh,
no. Fuck Nova.
Yeah, that's just that the Philly hate right there. They play Texas. Oklahoma plays TCU. Seton Hall, Penn State, Xavier, Cincinnati. So some real decent games tomorrow. So make sure to tune in tomorrow as well. We'll be going live around the same time. A couple quick promotions here. Make sure you follow along with us on Twitter at breakdown_sports, BRKDWN. Website is a ton of content up right now. We're in the thick of the college football season. So I think we dropped 4 articles this week for college football. We got some best bets for NFL as well. And there's been some soccer articles gone up in the last few days. Website is www.thebreakdownsports.com. Without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and tip it off for today's stream. Last few days, as far as recaps, there hasn't been a whole lot of upsets, injury news, anything like that. Marcus Bagley, so Marvin Bagley's younger brother, who plays for Arizona State, he was seen in a boot after the game yesterday or the day before, so that's something to keep an eye on. That's really the only noteworthy injury. As far as upsets, we don't really have any. We have some almost upsets. So newcomers to D1 basketball, Tarleton State, were up over Texas A&M at half. They're up by only 2 points, but A&M came back to win it by 7 in the second half. Virginia almost lost to Kent State last night, but they, again, came back in the second half. And Purdue almost had a big upset by their fellow Indiana State team with Valpo. They were down by 11 at half. Purdue put them away in the second half, outscoring them by 22 points. So as someone who is holding a -15 for Purdue, that looked dead as a doornail in the first half. I probably should have played Purdue second half, but I was too pissed off not being able to watch it on the Big Ten network, and then just being in my feelings that Purdue, as a 15-point favorite, was down by 11 points at half against a bottom 100 team, I'll say, for Valpo. But enough on that. Rex, you got anything to talk about from the last few days?
Those first 2 results with Texas A&M and Virginia not covering, great for the model. Purdue had an edge in the model, so 2-1 there. We're just seeing, we're about to get into the model, so just seeing a lot of different results from this model so far. Trying to find the teams that are streaky or trendy, but it's a shame that the holy war between St. Joe's and Nova cannot be played this season. Probably good for us, but given how they're going, probably would have been a close one, hopefully.
Yeah, they've been not up to Villanova's not been playing up to expectations this year, which has surprised a lot of people as they really expected them to do well. But who knows? Still very early in the season. These teams that are perennial contenders, we see them really get into the groove of things as we go down the stretch, which is hopefully something that Big Blue backers down in Kentucky are hoping to see. Kentucky, I think they're 3-31 from behind the 3-point line in their last 3 games, which is putrid. It's about 10%. And Coach Cal's hot take the other day was that we have good shooters, they're just not making their shots. So Coach Cal always very out there with his bold prediction. So hopefully,
whoa. This is an no Cal hate allowed on this podcast.
I'm not really
Wooder's going to find a trouble. Water will find this level eventually, but this Kentucky team could potentially be one of the worst 3-point shooting teams that we've seen from them for a while because Boston's their only threat. Everyone else just needs to step up in that category.
Yeah, they have a game tomorrow against – they play a fairly decent opponent. Who are they against tomorrow? They're against Georgia Tech, so we'll be on the lookout for that when lines drop for that later this
Might
afternoon.
have to hammer the Cats on that one. Georgia Tech stinks.
We'll have to see. Yeah, Georgia Tech taken down by your favorite team, Georgia State.
And Mercer.
They lost to Mercer? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. That was me and Steven on College Game Breakers. We shit on them a little bit this past episode. It's not like they thought they were going to be a great team, but when you're losing to the two teams in state like that, just not good.
Yeah. So moving along, enough recaps looking at how the model has performed. Model is 101, 87, and 7 overall. So that's 53.7%. Multi-point edges, so anything over 2 points. We are 46, 33, and 2, which is 58% against the spread. So as Rex said, it's been a little up and down, and that's kind of the beast of betting college basketball long term. Over the last few days, we've actually been under 500, whereas the first 5 days of the season, we're up around almost 60%. So water finds its level, but as we get more data into these projections, they should become sharper. We should be able to clearly define our edges, and we're probably about 1 or 2 weeks away from looking at totals as well as sides. So stay tuned for that. But anything from you on that end of things, Rex? Anything you've seen?
The 101, 87, and 7 is only for games above 1 point. If we're seeing a half-point edge or something like that, that's very, very hard to classify as who you have favored there. So that's where we do have more of a subset. Tracking all of it would take a lot of time. But the multi-point edges, they seem to be where we need to be looking more. The only hard part of the multi-point edges is yesterday they got swept, but you would have been backing Stetson against Miami and just other teams like that. So that's where maybe it takes a little bit of cojones to back them, but thankfully yesterday we didn't.
Yeah, and that's been hit or miss too. We have teams like Oakland who pretty often pop on the model who you wouldn't back with your buddy's money or your ex-girlfriend's money, to put it a different way. Whereas then last night I lay it with Purdue against a shitty Valpo team and they can't cover. So it really swings both ways on that end. Something that I thought was funny was looking through our outputs today. We had 2 games lined exactly down to the 100th decimal place, which was Oklahoma State, 22.5 spread. We have it lined at 22.5, and the other was VCU, Mount St. Mary's, lined at 14. We had 14 exactly. So that was just really strange to see it be lined so perfectly. We'll normally see it where we're pretty close, but I don't think we've had many where it's exactly on the number. So, but that was pretty interesting.
And that just puts a little bit more proof to it that we're on the right track here. We're hitting some of the numbers, because if you're having a huge edge in every game, then obviously you're doing something wrong or you found gold. So if you're running a model and you have a 3-point edge in every game and it's cashing at more than 55%, hit us up. We'll gladly talk to you at the breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, if you are having 3-point edges and you're losing, 60% of those games, you probably don't have a winning model and something you should dig into a little bit further. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into the picks. Rex and I are sharing 3 plays today. I have 4. Rex has like 3.5, 4. So we'll kick it off with the games where we actually are a little bit off of each other. So I will take the mic first. First game that I have that Rex is not on is Southern Utah +3 taking on the Montana Grizzlies. I found a 3. Market is at about 2.5, 3. I have our projections at Southern Utah by a half point. What I really like as my edge in this game is the guard play. Southern Utah has John Knight III. It was a senior point guard who's playing at one of the highest usage rates in college basketball. He's near a 40% usage rate, something that will continue today as he goes up against a true freshman. So Montana's starting a true freshman at point guard. Their backup point guard is a sophomore who didn't do a whole lot for them last year. And Montana's lineup as a whole is almost all underclassmen, while the Southern Utah squad is a bit more senior. They have I think they only play juniors and seniors. I don't even know if they have any freshmen who are currently getting minutes. I get the lineup breakdowns from KenPom. So if you're looking to dig into lineups a little bit more, see how teams use their rotations, that is something sure to look at. One thing that both myself and Rex really enjoyed was that Eric Haslam has Southern Utah, I believe. Oh, no, that's a different game we're talking about. But Southern Utah plays super fast. It's something that I really like with them here. They shoot up a lot of threes. That's something that Montana can't really compete with. So I just like what Southern Utah has in terms of their experience in this game. This is the first of a back-to-back, so they will be playing each other again either tomorrow or the next day. Montana struggled 0-2 on the season, whereas Southern Utah is 2-1 or 1-0 thus far. So keep an eye out on that game. I like the Southern Utah side. I think there's a chance that they can win outright if their upperclassmen can just outclass the Montana Grizzlies. That's something I really like in this game. I really like the experience that they have, and analytics sort of point towards taking Southern Utah as well. Bart has Southern Utah to cover the spread. KenPom has Southern Utah to cover the spread. Eric Haslam has Southern Utah to cover the spread. So virtually everyone, all the major projection guys, like Southern Utah in this game. You got anything on that one, Rex?
Jumping into the conference games already with the Big Sky here. So that is the one thing, because as you said, the back-to-backs, definitely not analytics or lines based, but I love the Montana Grizz logo because it literally just looks like Grizzly, the long cut. Sorry, don't want to make you choke on that. But I mean, this is where both of these teams are kind of ranked right around each other. The one thing I liked in this was it's not hard for this model to have us saying that the wrong team is favored. But here, this is one of the games where it's showing, because in basketball, it's harder with the smaller edges. So like 2.5 points here definitely can't talk you off it when our model says that Utah should be the favorites. And I believe they're at home as well.
Yeah, it is. It is in the America First Event Center, which is the Rowdy Stadium arena out there in Cedar City, Utah. I will pass the mic over to you. Let's go into the game that you and I share, where you have the money line pick.
All right, so we're getting right into the good one. So kind of addicted to betting on Florida basketball teams that aren't Florida State, Florida, or Miami. So the love affair with FIU had a rough patch last night, the Hook loss, but we're finding the Ospreys. We're going up north in Florida. This spread is listed right now at 5 or 5.5. I'd play either of those. And the money line. So this is where I'm splitting up my unit here. Did it last night with Seton Hall. Didn't turn out well, but taking North Florida plus 5.5 for 0.75 units. Then the money line at plus 200 for 0.25 units. And this is where, when you go and look at this schedule, you're going to see that North Florida is 0-4, High Point's 0-2. And North Florida has played some teams so far. So I think even though they've had 2 more games, their legs could be a little bit more tired. They're battle tested. They're ready. They're playing at higher competition. My only concern here is that North Florida doesn't play down to High Point, and just kind of, because this is one of their games that they need to win. I don't know how High Point is a 5.5 favorite here. So that's where maybe the books know something. Maybe money's moving it, but that's where I feel confident at the 5. Here, UNF, I just think they hold too many advantages on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. North Florida doesn't get to the free throw line well because they shoot a bunch of threes, and that's okay because that's where High Point ranks as one of their best defensive metrics, is on stopping free throw rates. And on UNF's defense, I mean, High Point isn't a world beater. They did play 2 decent games as well, so both of these teams are kind of battle tested. They're playing even opponents now, and I'm just going to back the better team in the Ospreys, which I think.
Yep, I agree. Osprey gang. Kind of taking off where you left. North Florida Chucks. They've had 3-4 really tough games against very good opponents, and they've been firing threes. And I think when you are playing a team that is similar caliber and you're so used to playing teams that are above, you're playing over your skis, playing the upper echelon of teams, or even just teams that are likely to make the tournament, and you go and you play a comparable team, I think that is where you really have an edge. Them firing those threes, that's not something that High Point is able to stop. High Point is actually pretty bad at stopping the three.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, so I think that's another edge. Model has this lined around 2. So with us getting 5, that's a very sizable edge for both of us. So that's something that I really like in that game. Real quick, just looking into some of the other metrics that favor North Florida Ospreys. Pretty efficient offense. Like I said, they've been playing that, playing up to against some much tougher teams. They played Florida State. What other teams do they play, Rex? You might know off the top of your head.
I believe they played North Carolina State as well.
They did.
So that's where they're just a more battle-tested team, and hungry dogs run faster.
Yeah, exactly. They North Carolina State, they've played Miami, Florida. They played Florida State, and they played Eastern Kentucky. So they've been playing some tougher teams. They've had to chuck threes. I think that in a game against High Point where North Florida likes to play with a little bit of pace, I really like them against a slower High Point team, just on athleticism and everything else that Rex and I have outlined.
Yes, sir. So let's get into – we share the next 2 as well. So Anyone on the stream, anyone watching, you want a line, you want to get our thoughts on the game, hit us up. We'll definitely review that for you, break it down live on the fly to show you our skills.
Yep, absolutely. Preferences on commenting through Periscope if you're able. Otherwise, feel free to respond to the tweets that we've posted on Twitter. I've got my notifications up, so we will see that.
All right, Chris Smith, hit us up with one. We'll get to you at the end with Air Force versus Lamar, one of Chris's hometown teams.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that was actually a game that I was looking at, and you kind of like the other side there, so that's funny. We'll save that one for the end. Next game that we will take a look at, let's look at the UNLV Running Rebels against the Kansas State Wildcats. So both of us are backing the Wildcats here. Rex got a nice...
Hold your nose.
Yeah, this is a stinky one. Kansas State has not played well this year. Under Weber, they are not looking good this year. This is probably one of the worst Kansas State teams under his regime. So that's not certainly a good look. But the Running Rebels stink. They are not good. They've really struggled so far. I believe were they in the Champions Classic?
Yes, so that doesn't help.
No, not at all. They're playing good teams. They're getting fucking the doors blown off. They're just getting bodied. They don't have a ton of athleticism. I have this at a -1.5. I found a rogue number out there. Rex has it at -2, but our projection is -4.5. I think that size and athleticism is going to be the real issue here for UNLV. Although they have All-American first name, Chike Mbake Diong, hope I said that right, my man, is their only player on their team who is over 6'8". So when you're going against a K-State team that has always been very physical, they like to recruit in the front court. They have let me see if I can pull it up here. Their center is one of the most dominant centers right now, despite the fact that the team is not playing well. I'll pull it up as I talk. He's top 10 in the nation in block rate. He's catching a ton of offensive rebounds. So when you don't have height to battle that, that's really going to be a detriment to your team. So Running Rebels, they don't do a whole lot of things well. Kansas State hasn't been playing well either, but this is a spot where both of us like K-State. So I pull up the name of that center here. Let's see.
Yeah, there's 2 main reasons why I like this K-State play and the Houston play that we're going to get into next is free throw rate. Especially when it's at -2. K-State gets to the line at the 70th best in the nation. UNLV's letting teams get to the line on the 319th best in the nation. So that's where if you get that -2 and you can get those easy bucket or easy points at the line, That could be a huge game changer here. And the second place where K-State holds a big advantage, UNLV isn't big, so they do get hit on the boards, but a bigger place that you would think a smaller, maybe guard or oriented team would thrive in is defending the three. They're allowing teams to shoot closely around like 40% from three right now. And
yeah, 37%.
And Kansas State shooting right around 40% as well. So maybe we're buying too much into small sample sizes there, but maybe this is something to look forward to, because when you're pounding it on the inside with the big man, K-State's doing a bunch of kickouts, and K-State has some catch and shoot guys where those two aspects, if you're going to give me the free throw rate at a huge disadvantage, 3-point rate at a huge disadvantage, and lay a -2, I think you got to back the Wildcats here.
Yeah, so that center's name for Kansas State, I'm going to absolutely butcher this one. Kosi Ezekiel. And he's a 25% usage rate, so he gets the ball a lot down in the paint. 6'10", sophomore. He's really going to outclass them. His offensive rebounds numbers are insane. Obviously, he can clean the glass on the defensive side as well. But if he's pulling down those offensive boards, and like we mentioned, K-State gets to the line a ton, this is really where K-State can hopefully really put it on UNLV, run Rebels, blow out this 2-point spread, and cash for the two of us here. Go ahead.
The guard battle here, I think, is going to be probably what could determine it. If K-State does struggle to dominate in the post, you're going to see Pack and McGurl for Kansas State go up against Hamilton and Grill for UNLV, and I just think there's a difference there in talent. UNLV, they run a very short lineup, and once you get past Hamilton and Grill, it gets pretty rough there. So that's where I'm hoping K-State with that free throw rate can get these guys in the foul trouble and just thrive on their backups.
Hamilton played for Otzelberger in South Dakota State, right? I think he was a transfer.
No, Bryce Hamilton's been at UNLV's whole
yes. Okay. I know they brought in a few transfers because South Dakota State was Otzelberger. That's the head coach of UNLV's last stint. But that's when you have Mike Daum. I mean, Mike Daum, the fucking living legend. Just loved him out of that 3-point line, watching him in a tournament or two, and even last year and whatever conference they are in, I couldn't even tell you.
Yep. So let's get into the Hungry Dog is usually always my favorite play, but this one coming up, I don't know if it's stinky. I don't know if it's what. This is one where I just like this play a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take the lead then on this one?
Yep. Let's go to Houston versus South Carolina. So was talking to my one buddy about this game and said I like Houston, and he goes, you have to, because Frank Martin shaved his head, and it's just a straight fade after Frank Martin shaved his head. But the Houston Cougars, watch them against Boise, watch them in other games. They're having troubles, I guess, closing teams out that you would like to see them, because they get up like to 20 to 30 at some points and then let them get back into a 10-point game. But from a gambling perspective, if you see that, just take the middle, throw a half unit that if you're laying to Houston -9.5 or 9 and you see them get up big, try to middle it. But this South Carolina team, I don't know what's going on with them. You always see Martin's sides play tough, but Houston is just a much tougher and better team in this one, because Houston and South Carolina, I don't want to say they like to play the same game, but they like to play that grit and grind basketball a little bit more. And that's where Houston just holds every single advantage here, especially at the free throw rate. South Carolina's fouling like crazy. Houston has the 4th best efficient offense right now. They have the 4th best efficient defense. This is going to be a top 10 team, if not top 5 team, even though they're in the American. This team, I don't want to compare them to Dayton of last year because they play different styles, but this team could be a squad that we're looking at that's, even though there's only 22 games, they could be 18-2 come the end of the year.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Do you think this is Sampson's best Houston team that he has?
Definitely, just because they just, on the defensive end, they just don't let you do anything that you want other than their lapses. And I love teams that just knock off second chance points. Last night when I was watching Seton Hall versus Oregon, I was ripping my fucking hair out watching Seton Hall just give up 9 offensive boards against the 2 that they grabbed. Houston with this team, there's someone that's just going to body you. They're going to grind you on the clock. They play slow.
So slow.
South Carolina likes to play fast. The better team's going to dictate the tempo here. South Carolina doesn't want to get into a half-court game.
No, and that's what it's going to be. And when you don't have the athleticism and the experience to play slow against a team like Houston, you're going to lose. Houston has Marcus Sasser, who's one of the funnest players to watch in college basketball. Quentin Grimes, their guard forward combo player, he's fucking great. I really like watching him as well. Everything points to Houston in this game. We have it lined at -12. So this one's good up to 10.5. We both grabbed it at -9.5. I believe it might currently be 9.5. We're both lockstep in this one. Houston should roll. The way that they play is very beneficial to them in this matchup. As Rex mentioned, the more dominant team, the better team is going to dictate the tempo. And while South Carolina is going to want to run it in the full court, Houston just won't allow that to happen. Houston's going to grind down that clock. South Carolina is going to be forcing up some shots, and I just don't see that working in their favor. Houston's one of the best 3 teams as well. And it's not like South Carolina is terrible at defending the 3, but when you're going up against one of the top 20, top 25 3-point teams, you're really going to struggle if you can't play your tempo, and them slowing it down. It's going to be challenging for them. It's not something they're used to, is playing that slow ball. I'm with Rex, everything that he says, but that Houston defense is no joke. I'm really excited to watch them in conference play, playing athletic teams like Memphis. And that'll be something fun to watch as we get a little bit further down the season. Houston's one of my favorite teams, so I really like this.
Yeah, the way you beat this Houston team is not the way that South Carolina does it well. Derek Alston for Boise State, one of the best small forwards, I think, in the nation, was held to 0 points. A.J. Lawson is the crux, along with Cousinard, for the South Carolina offense. So if you're going to beat Houston, they're not a huge team. You could take advantage of them on the inside, and South Carolina does not like to play through the inside. So that's where, I don't know, there's just too many contradicting factors here just to see. I think Houston wins this one by 15, to be honest.
Yeah. Yep. I think they can really put it on them. They clean the glass. They're more athletic. They're going to play their tempo. They're fucking amazing on defense. I mean, what more is there to like? And with how they defend the 3-point line, it's going to be hard that if Houston's able to take a little bit of a bigger lead and South Carolina's forced to slow it down, they're going to be chucking threes. And honestly, with the guard play of Houston, I don't see that working in South Carolina's favor.
Yep. Everyone who doesn't know who Caleb Mills is yet, you're crazy. You'll figure out who he is today when you're watching this one.
Sure to be a good game. And then do we want to go over to that Lamar Air Force game?
Yes. Anyone else want to chirp in some games? Let us know what you think. But Chris Smith, fellow breakdown contributor, wants to hear about the Air Force versus Lamar. So Jordan and I kind of had different reads on this game, but once I saw that the line popped at 4.5, my initial thought of Air Force was right out the door. This is where Lamar, according to some of the rankings, is the better team here. So that's where I was surprised to see that Air Force is laying the -4. I was hoping to maybe get the reverse and be able to back Air Force here, but you got another contrast of tempo. Lamar has been a solid defensive team. They're 0-3 as of right now, so they've played, I believe, Houston, Lipscomb, and Tulane, so they haven't played any nobodies, but I haven't caught a full Lamar game yet, so this is where I'm going off the advanced stats, and I don't know. I like the Air Force here, but if you're laying -4 with them, I do not like that because Air Force on offense, they can shoot the 3 all right at like a 35% clip, but other than that, there's not much shot for them to get in there unless they can hit the boards. Lamar doesn't clean the offensive glass well, so that's where you could see a potential issue.
Yep. So I'm a Joe Scott Air Force truther, and I was actually surprised to see this going the other way, where they are favored by 4.5. I certainly don't think they've done anything to show that they're 4.5-point favorites. As Rex said, the model does show an edge on Lamar. One of the reasons why we might be seeing that number, did it open at 4.5 or did it steam up to there?
Let me check that real quick for you.
Cool. I mean, either way, one of the things that, because this is being played at Air Force, is the effects of altitude. And that could be part of it. I know Lamar is from the Chris Smith region down there, I believe, which is below sea level in Houston. And they're going to be playing at approximately 3,000 feet above sea level. So Air Force playing in Colorado Springs, they're a little bit lower than Denver. So it's not quite the mile high, but it is going to be a game that Air Force over, 5-10 years, they've done well at home just because teams coming in have that disadvantage of playing at altitude with the oxygen restrictions that you feel as you play at higher altitude. Don't really have a feel on this either way. I was big letdown spot last week with Air Force getting absolutely blown out by Seattle. I paid my rent this month with CLV. So thankfully I was able to cash in on that as we watched that flip from Air Force +2 to Air Force -1.5, I want to say, -2. But unfortunately, these are two lower ranked teams. I'm not going to be betting on this just because it could be, it's going to be an ugly game. I don't think this is going to be a very enticing, fun game to watch. If I, gun to my head, had to pick a side, I'd roll with Lamar, but that's not a very high confidence level pick.
Yep, the line opened at 5.5. It's currently down to 4.5 here. You got to take the points with Lamar. I don't think Air Force will have fans there too, so it's not like, even though you're up a little bit more, home court advantage, we could see maybe drops a little bit for Air Force this year as well.
Yep, I agree.
So we're planning to lead you guys right up to Baylor Gonzaga. It's a shame that game got canceled in 15 minutes. We had a small edge on Baylor right now, but as a model overall, we haven't showed an edge to Gonzaga yet, which is, I don't think, unexpected, because I think they're currently 1-1 against the spread. So this would have been a big showing for this one. And man, that Jalen Suggs injury was nasty. I can't believe he came back to play. It looked like he was even going to play today as well. So as someone who could have easily been the freshman of the year, I don't know why he's going to play at not 100%, especially this type of season with how deep Gonzaga is. Just give him a month off. You're good enough to withstand that. Yeah,
roll through the non-con. There's no even non-con. It's not, non-con's tougher than their conference schedule. It looked like an Achilles injury from everything that we all saw watching that game, watching him hit the floor against West Virginia, watching him repeatedly grab at his ankle and his heel on the sidelines, and then for him to come back in the second half. I think everyone was shocked. So that was a really intriguing thing to see him come back out there. Model's not going to show edges on Gonzaga against these top tier teams or even the lower ranked teams because, like we've talked about in past streams, a analytical model is never going to think the best team in the world is the best team in the world. They're going to say that their opponents are going to play them a little bit tighter. And they're never going to think that the worst team in the world is going to be the worst team in the world. But someone has to be the best and someone has to be the worst. So as you said, this was going to be a big showing. We did have a slight edge for Baylor here. Looks like the teams have agreed to make it up at a later date. So hopefully we'll get that in, the next week or two when perhaps they're both off for a couple days and are able to play that. So just something to keep an eye out. Certainly sucks to see that. It was Gonzaga who had the COVID infection, right?
Yeah, because they gave it to St. Joe's.
Of course, yes. But no, they claim it that there was nothing fishy going on on Wednesday. If we're going to go down the COVID rabbit hole, let's talk about Jim Boeheim throwing an absolute piss fit at halftime of that Syracuse game when they almost fucking lost to Bryant after Syracuse fought to play that game. But that might be a conversation for another day.
Yes, sir. So since it's pick and troll, it's time to troll two squads. I'm
all for it.
All right. So First one. Sorry, Steven. I know you're tuning in, watching it right now. We got to troll the UConn. It seemed like UConn Twitter crowned themselves the national champions after beating
They
a
already
USC
won.
team. They don't need to see anything else.
Nope.
They didn't. Even Hurley in the post-game press conference is like, this is a better team. We're this much better because we're not dropping games in the non-conference before it like we should have. Like, congratulations. You're doing what a top 25 to top 30 team should be doing.
Yep.
And the last few minutes of that game against USC were less than convincing because if they played a team that had any better caliber guards, UConn gets blown out there where they just go scoreless from us like at a 5-minute stretch. So UConn, congrats on beating CCSU, Hartford, and USC in your national championship that you've declared to yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before the season, but once we get into the Big East, I think that's really going to show who UConn is, and Dan Hurley's going to have some fun post-game conferences, have some explaining to do. Their first Big East game, they play Providence. They should win that one, but they're going to go up against Creighton, and Creighton has Alex O'Connell just put in a waiver request. So hopefully the NCAA, I know they're very busy. It takes them a very long time to approve all these waivers. But if we see Alex O'Connell coming out for Creighton, even Creighton a little bit undermanned right now, I still would like Creighton in that game there. But yes, congrats on the boys of Storrs, Connecticut for beating their first, top 100 team in USC and taking it down to the final minutes there where they, like you said, went scoreless for almost a span of 5 minutes. So really going to be fun to watch. I know Steven and the rest of UConn Twitter is really flying high after that big win over USC. So let's see how they do against St. John's, Georgetown, PC, Creighton down the stretch.
Yep, and yeah, these waivers are so strange because Oregon played a game and then LJ Figueroa got a waiver granted between their first and second game. Like, what the hell was holding them up from getting it a game earlier? Like, I guess I don't know. The NCAA is always messed up. It's just as bad as FIFA.
Yeah, it's really challenging. Another kind of big waiver that is currently being waited on. Different team, but Memphis still waiting on DeAndre Williams. He comes from Evansville, where his coach was fired mid-season. If that is not reason to immediately approve a waiver on someone going into their second year, he was recruited by Walter McCartney, and transfers to Memphis and isn't cleared for a waiver. I just don't know. I mean, they're so fickle with this. Some players are reported eligible almost immediately, and then we're going to be sitting here waiting for DeAndre Williams and Alex O'Connell till Christmas Day. So NCAA up to NCAA type thing. So let's move on to our second team here. You have Washington listed as the Huskies for your second team that you would like to troll. What do you say about the Huskies?
I'm glad we went off cue there and got a nice NCAA troll in there. Always love shitting on them. So much deserved. And this Washington team, I mean, maybe it's hard to troll them because I thought they were going to be better. It's kind of like trolling Georgia Tech, how I did on the College Game Breakers, where you lose to Riverside and put up 42 points. You lose to Utah, put up 62 points, and you lose to Baylor and put up 52. So maybe scoring Baylor against 52 isn't that bad. But this Huskies team is going to have a long, long season. Everyone that they thought was going to be a contributor isn't showing up. Riley Sorn, their 7'4" guy who's getting 15% of their minutes per game, is their best contributor. And that just means they're playing terrible during any meaningful part of the games. They've been completely down so far. They were favorites in one of the games that they lost, and then they were even 7 points favorites against Utah. This offense is just terrible. This defense is terrible. I made fun of Vandy a little bit ago, but this Washington team is going to be way worse than Vandy come the end of the year because Quade Green, the Kentucky transfer, everything that they hoped, this guy, I believe he was a top 50 recruit, just isn't living up to any of the hype. it's going to be a long, long season for this Washington team.
Yep, Najee and Carter decided to go to the NBA. They were hoping to get him back at some point. He had a very there was a lot of mystique around him because he was suspended indefinitely by the team for a violation of their code of conduct, but there was no information as to what he did. He was their top scorer on their team last year. So they were hoping that, when the university or when the team decided that he would be able to come back, that he'd be one of the key contributors for their team. So him going to the NBA certainly does not help them. And this is a Washington team that plays in the Pac-12, not exactly the stalwarts of the college basketball world. So for them to lose one of their best players after they've lost games to Utah, UC Riverside, and Baylor handedly in all three, especially UC Riverside, it's really not a good look. This team is sure to go under 500, especially once they get into conference play and they're playing USC, UCLA, they play Utah. Even Colorado might be able to pull one out on them. So this is going to be a long season if you are a Huskies fan. So buckle up. Think back to the days of Isaiah Thomas, and that's really about all you got to look forward to.
Yeah, 14 for 74 from three on the season, so they're shooting a stellar 19%. Maybe that will trick up, and they'll only be losing games by single digits instead of double digits going forward.
Yeah. I mean, Kentucky would really love a 19% 3-point right now, so it could be worse from behind the stripe. But yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, never want to put a coach on the hot seat, but Mike Hopkins, he's had 2 great years there. Started off 21-13, 27-9. Now he's at 15-17 last year and looking at like a 9-12 year this year.
Yeah, for sure. Is this the only place he's ever coached?
Yes.
Yeah, he's probably going to like Eastern Washington or.
Eastern Washington's
actually they're good. They're good. Good point. All right, I backpedal on that one. What's the shitty Maybe he goes to Seattle.
Yeah, that's a good
Seattle, one. Portland. He could play up in Oregon there. Coach at Portland, maybe. We'll see. But that's about all that we had outlined for today's stream. So if anyone has any final comments, questions, we got some DFS stuff last week that we had to outsource. But if you've got any questions, now's your chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace. As Rex and I going to be letting you guys go. Not many marquee matchups today, as we mentioned at the top of the stream. Tomorrow's a much brighter slate. Tomorrow also has NFL, and today we got a lot of big college football games as well. So hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Rex, you got anything to say before I do another shameless plug?
Yeah, we'll like tease this for tomorrow's episode, but do you think while NFL season is going, college basketball lines are softer?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have even college football as well, between those two, odds makers are going to pay a lot more attention to that, especially, I mean, a game like Gonzaga or Baylor today, that's pretty tight. Even though our model shows an edge on that, those are 2 top-ranked teams. They're going to put their top odds maker on that. They're going to really dig into that one. As far as, UNLV, Kansas State, maybe they're not spending as much time on that one. Or Tarleton State, Abilene Christian, probably not at the top of their priority list when they're aligning things. Oftentimes they'll look at what KenPom has and shade it one way or the other based off where they expect money to come in and kind of roll with that. So I think that for, the next month and a half that we continue to have NFL, the next month that we continue to have college football, there's certainly some edges to be found in college basketball, especially the mid majors and some of those lower tier conferences as well. Patriot League coming back in January, early January is going to be a big one. So be on the lookout for mine and Rex's blocks on Northeastern once we get down the stretch into Patriot play. So
screw Northeastern. They denied me.
I remember I went to a open house there, and my dad, slide number 2 is, the admissions and the financials and everything. And he looks at me and goes, can we leave? We're not going to school. It's fucking $55,000 a year. And I was like, oh, okay. Good point.
Yeah, the only one I got denied from, I'll always remember Northeastern for that, so I'm always kind of salty to them.
I feel bad. Feels bad, man. I almost went to Quinnipiac out of where are they, MEAC? That's Bryant I looked at as well.
You've been a hockey guy at this point then.
Big hockey guy. I mean, UMass is no joke at hockey. We went to the national championship a few years, or Frozen Four, when I was a student. My sister was a student. I was in post-grad school, so that's all we got for today. Quick shout out to Narragansett Brewery. Both Rex and I sipping on the finest brews that the state of Rhode Island has to offer. I have the Autocrat Coffee Milk Stout. This is a limited edition that they produce every year. Autocrat coffee syrup is one of the fine delicacies of Southeast New England. So if you're able to catch this beer or catch some Autocrat coffee milk cream, be sure to check that out. Otherwise, that's all we got for today. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at breakdown_sports, BRKDWN. Check out the website, breakdownsports.com. And you can find us on Instagram, breakdown_sports. Find us on Twitter or Facebook by doing a search for The Breakdown. That's all we got. Give us a follow. Shout us out. Let us know where we suck. Let us know if you're tailing our bets or even fading them. I'm certainly fade fodder right now. So that's all I got. Osprey gang.
Yep. Ospreys. Let's get some Ospreys and keep getting some money. That hungry dog is ready for today. I know it.
Yeah. So that's all we got for today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back around the same time tomorrow. Peace.
Yep. Have a good one.